Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. Let me tell you, Jacob, definitely the mortgage guru right here in this market. He knows how to get the loan you need, how to get that interest rate just right for your monthly payment, how much money you're going to need for your down payment. For more information, give him a call today, 803-719-1005. Jacob Crowder is with First Palmetto Bank, who is locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. What does that mean? It means you have quick and precise answers from local decision makers who can help you move through the process at a quick rate and purchase, build, or refinance the house that you are looking at. So if you're looking to refinance, great time to do it. Call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. And of course, if you're looking to purchase a new home or build a new home, the first thing you've got to find out is what the interest rates are and what lines of credit could be available for you. 803-719-1005. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Yesterday, over in Atlanta, Kalen DeBoer weighing in. And this is interesting because you got Indiana,
Hmm.
Tyler Head, who's like, oh, is that Virginia coming down the tracks? Yeah, we don't want any of that. And then you got Alabama this year. And Alabama's in are they in a precarious situation? Is Kalen DeBoer on the hot seat? How do we judge the Alabama job? I mean, barring a 5-7, a 4-8 year, which would be insane. But like, what is the level? We talked about Shane Beamer. What is the level of pressure on Kalen DeBoer in year two?
I think it's quite a bit because let's be honest, last year was underachieving. In the eyes of the Alabama faithful, there is no excuse for missing out, especially on the expanded 12-team college football playoff. They did that. They had two pretty inexcusable losses on the road at Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. They're just unbecoming of a program like Alabama. Yeah, when Nick Saban got beat, it was usually to another pretty good team, and neither one of those teams were towards the top of the SEC. So didn't exactly get off started off on the right foot. And again, I I don't envy the situation that Kalen DeBoer is in by following Nick Saban. We've said, I know I've said for years, you never want to be the guy that follows the guy, right? Because everything you do is going to be directly compared to him, and nothing you do is going to be good enough outside of achieving exactly what he achieved. So he's going into a tough situation. He's not from the Southeast, so that doesn't help him out with people either. Then he goes out there and loses 3 games, misses the playoff his first year. So I really think, he definitely has to get this team into the college football playoff to alleviate some of the pressure. And look, I think Alabama fans are eventually going to have to adjust their expectations to know that you're not going to win a national championship, 3 out of every 4 years like you were doing for a while with Nick Saban, it seemed like. Not saying that Kalen DeBoer can't get there and can't win a national championship, but it's going to be a whole lot harder, and you come back down to earth with the rest of the pack a little bit compared to where you were at the height of your dominance. So again, I think I think he definitely has to hold up his end, but I also think the fan base itself also has to readjust what it means to be successful now that he's in charge. Nick Saban isn't anymore.
Yeah, one of the things that is going to be interesting is this year. So again, I was making fun of Indiana. Alabama this year has got your 8 conference games, pretty difficult little schedule. And on top of that, they're going to open the season with Florida State, and they're gonna also play Wisconsin. 10 big games this year for them. Here is Caleb DeBoer, and Alabama's going to play these big names. We've seen them play Southern Cal. We've seen them play Clemson in openers. We've seen them play a lot of really fun openers against Florida State this year. Here's Caleb DeBoer talking about the SEC schedule at 8 or 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, right now that's above me. I know there's questions that get asked the coaches and kind of as you work with your athletic directors, but that's beyond me right now. I know there's a lot of pros when it comes to strength and schedule, and I'm all for that. You look at our schedule this year, and again, that was built out years back as as well. But we're playing Florida State, Wisconsin. One way, one at home, and so we're all about playing as many high-end games possibly play.
That's the number one. Let's be clear about this. If you're Alabama, I don't care who your coach is, that is the mindset to have, right? Like you consider yourself one of the big dogs of college football. There's nobody better than us. We'll play whomever, whenever, however.
That was at least the mindset. Now, he mentioned something there that's interesting to me that he said, hey, these games were scheduled years ago, and the thought was, hey, you can have Alabama going in with Nick Saban to Tallahassee. You're going to have them playing host to Wisconsin, all these kind of things. I'm interested to see if Kalen DeBoer is here for the long haul, when these next rounds of future games start getting scheduled, if they're the same caliber, if you start to see them, I'm not saying they're going to start going out there playing the Little Sisters of the Poor, but instead of trying to take on an Ohio or a Michigan or a Florida State, whatever, they kind of drop down to that second tier of like Power Four schools. Like, hey, maybe they'll play Virginia. Hey, maybe they'll play Purdue or Northwestern. One of these other they're Power Four schools, but they don't exactly make you worry a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I am interested to see. And look, he's not stayed at one place long enough as a head coach to really see if he's ever had any influence or effect on that. But if he's at Alabama for a long time, I'm interested to see if they continue to play these super high level opponents in these early season matchups.
Again, to that point, listen, unfortunately, Caleb DeBoer's kind of put himself in a corner here. you either get fired, or we're like, well, you weren't good enough to do the job. You don't run from the Alabama job, right? You don't in 3 years, kind of to your point, you don't go, we got fired. That Florida job seems like it's better than Alabama. We would consider that running, especially if you did we accused Lincoln Riley of doing it in Oklahoma and going
Sure.
even further west and not taking the LSU job.
Yeah, no, you don't when you're in Alabama, that's your destination. You don't hop from there. Um, Again, he's either going to retire there or they're going to fire him. There's no in between in my opinion. Look, he's a good coach, and obviously he's got a history of winning everywhere that he's been. I do think he felt the reality check that was the SEC, especially going on the road in the SEC a season ago, that he's going to have to adjust to. And look, he's still recruiting at a very high level. He's still got a ton of NFL caliber talent on this team. The quarterback situation is obviously a little bit of a question mark, and that does concern me for them a little bit. But he's still playing with a lot of very high caliber talent that should put him at least half a step ahead of most of the teams that they're going to be playing.
Again, Kalen DeBoer, I think his seat is not the same as the Sam Pittman that we talked about. Maybe not the same as, maybe even not. Who would you put on the Warford seat right now, Napier or DeBoer? They're different reasons. Who would you go with, though?
I would definitely go with Napier being on the warmer seat. And again, something else I brought up earlier when talking to Jack on my show was that they have back-to-back games against LSU and Florida early on in the season. They drop both those games. They have a bye week after that, and if they're 2-2 on the season with those two losses, I could see like the calls for Napier's head already being very, very loud even 4 weeks into the season.
Yesterday, one of the questions asked, I thought this was fascinating answers, is Kalen DeBoer talking about if expectations were met or what was met in year one. Did he live up to the year one standard? Here's Kalen DeBoer yesterday.
If you internally ask us, no, like we fell short of making the playoffs. It's as simple as that, right? And giving yourself a chance to go compete for a championship. I think there's a lot of things that I'm super proud of that are happening within the program that are part of the progression. Yeah, we want it right now too, so yeah, we fell short. Our guys, again, I'm proud of them and the way they've responded to us, not realizing the goals that we, set out to have, and getting back just to work, focusing on the main thing. I feel that's always been the case, but sometimes there's just ups and downs you got to go through, unfortunately, that we had to experience. But in the end, we're going to take advantage of the failures we've had and be better because of it.
Excuses or truth, Tyler Head?
I think it's a little bit of both. Can both be true at the same time.
Yeah, I know. I think you're telling the truth. But for me, I think he tried to man up to it best he could.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't run from it because again, you're under perhaps the biggest microscope in all of college football, given what that job is, what the success they've had there. It is. Again, I think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach, but even being a good coach there, you can still fall into the pressure of what it is to be the Alabama head coach. Again, he's got the opportunity to kind of write that and allow people to say, okay, that was just maybe year one jitters. Back in 2024, because again, you're going to have a talented team, but you're going to have another tough roster or another tough schedule this year. You got to go to Georgia. That's not going to be an easy game. You have to have it's always tricky. Tennessee once again this year. So yeah, and Oklahoma stands to be better than they were a season ago. So we'll see how they handle it in year number 2.
803-404-6100. Alabama State in the news yesterday. Oh, you're talking trash about us? Yeah, we see you, Florida State. We'll let Tyler Head break that down a little bit more for you when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 12:35 on a Thursday afternoon. Tyler Head over in Atlanta. Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird right here in Columbia is try and carry through Tyler Head here, trying to survive it out, seeing what it's like on day 4. What have you learned on day 4 from just the attitude there is? Have you had somebody get grumpy yet?
No. Again, I feel like everybody's putting in about half the effort today with the way that everybody's dressed. And again, the media area down there in the main is about half full. And again, I kind of look at the lineup today, and outside of Drake, but we did have some interesting comments. I don't think these other coaches moved the needle quite as much. I do feel bad for Mike Elko. There's not a whole lot of interesting about him, I guess. But you give him the dead slot of 2:45 on the 4th day of media day. He might be just in there with the janitors at that point.
Yeah, I'll be honest. People there, Tyler will tell you, you got a lot of people who've flown in and flying out. You got a lot of people who might be driving back more than 3 hours, 3.5 hours with Tyler, and everybody will be. So maybe Tyler and Jay and everybody a little more lenient in hanging around, whereas, hey, you might have a hard flight you got to catch or something. So, yeah, Mike Elko throws the short end of the stick.
I did hear a guy in the bathroom out of Lexington, Kentucky say he's got a 10-hour drive back when he leaves today. So have fun with that.
Yeah, exactly. And what did you talk any trash to him?
No, I didn't. I just kept myself on that one. But we have a budding rivalry, I suppose.
All right. Then, if you did better than Thomas Castellanos, who earlier this summer decided it would be neat to take a shot at Alabama. You know, when you're 2-10 and you sure your team that you arrived at was 2-10, why not take shots at Alabama, who's feeling a little stung from not making the college football playoff, not being a part of the fun? Well, you want to explain a little of this because Alabama linebacker Deontay Lawson caught wind of all this.
Yeah, so as you would expect, this came up yesterday when Alabama players were doing their media availability, and I got to throw this in there because, again, I am in charge of getting all the sound and stuff like that. I read the article about Deontay Lawson saying this, and typically when you have a sound bite like this, I can go to Twitter and typically find it pretty quickly. Somebody clipped it, a journalist that covers the program or whatever, people have retweeted it. It's usually pretty easy to find. I could not find a clip of this anywhere. I quite literally skimmed through an entire 24-minute media session Deontay Lawson had yesterday, only for it to be the very last thing that he talked about. And like, well, dang, I could have skipped to the end and avoided all this. But yes, I did get the clip of him giving his thoughts on what he had to, on his processing of what Thomas Castellanos had to say about Alabama a couple weeks back.
Here's that from producer Ed.
I definitely noticed it. How can we miss it? But, yeah, I don't really have a response. I mean, I said earlier, all disrespect will be addressed accordingly, and I stand on that right there.
He stands on that. He didn't stand on business, but he stands on all disrespect will be handled accordingly.
Doesn't that sound like the answer a drill instructor would give? Like, hey, how are you going to handle these guys that are being rambunctious? Disrespect will be handled accordingly. Like, I do worry for Thomas Castellanos and how week one's going to go because I don't think it's going to be pretty personally.
Are we in agreement Alabama is the better team, and then are we in agreement that Alabama is the better team by 7 points, 14 points? Like, is there a significant discrepancy here?
I'll go about 14.
Okay.
Again, until I see a significant improvement from Florida State, I'm gonna have a tough time believing it.
Okay.
Which that kind of leads into Thomas Castellanos maybe taking a step back from those comments, or at least clarifying what he meant.
Realizing now that when you say stuff, it can go viral and people can hear it, and it's not related to just the podcast you're on.
I'll clean this up for radio, but don't write a check with your mouth that your butt can't cash.
Here is
I think his words to live by.
Yeah, here's Thomas Castellanos. Was this yesterday that he came back to this? Do we know?
It's been the past couple of days. I think it was one of those quarterback camps because the video is about a minute and a half long, and there's a lot of quarterbacks there. Robbie Ashford was there working out. So it seems like a place where a lot of quarterbacks are working out at some kind of camp or something that he was asked about these comments, and he gave his explanation on why he said what he said.
Here is Thomas Castellanos, new Florida State quarterback.
For real though, like, bro, you watch any interview, like, I don't never talk like that, bro. But like, them boys coming off with 2-10, I just get pissed off and confident. You feel me? That's all I'm trying to do. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get some confidence. Yeah, like, I'm trying to get my boys ready to go. You feel me? I'm trying to make the biggest thing.
Trying to get his boys ready to go. He's trying to do it on a podcast, not in the locker room, not at a lunch table in the lunchroom like we saw Jameis Winston do one time. I believe that was on a lunchroom or something like that.
Yeah,
Tyler,
like a picnic. It was a picnic table, I think.
okay, yeah, good for James. Thomas Castellanos, as the nation, are we waiting? Everybody outside of Knoll Nation, are we waiting to laugh at him?
I think so. Look, in sports, unless they're on your team, we don't like people that are too confident, too loud, those kind of things. And Castellanos is kind of checking both those boxes as of right now. I do wonder because again, he's talking about, hey, listen, I'm going to a team. Now, again, he is once again kind of presenting himself as the savior of this team. Remember his comments about lost Scott. I didn't have any talent around me.
Yeah.
That's why we suck so bad. So he's once
Their
again
fault.
kind of
Their
putting,
fault, Tyler.
yeah,
Not him. Their fault.
he's again kind of putting himself on this pedestal, like, oh, I got to save these guys. I do wonder after these comments came out and whatever the next team event or team meeting was he celebrated like, hell yeah, man, you tell him, or like, what the blank are you doing? Do you realize the bull you just waved that red flag in front of?
I think he does not. I think he's like, look. I mean, everybody at some point has an ego, right? Everybody at some
Sure.
point is confident in who they are. I totally get it. I'm okay with that. I've been the same way. But know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And know that Alabama team is just will spend about 10 months in Tuscaloosa, where that fan base, if you don't make the college football playoff, they don't provide for you in the same manner they do when you are good. Them boys and Kalen DeBoer are going to be angry come Florida State Alabama Day, 3:30 by the way.
And that's the thing is I feel like Alabama already has something to prove right out of the gate anyway because they didn't live up to the expectations in year one under Kalen DeBoer. Don't give them more fuel to the fire. Say, okay, well now we want to kick this guy's head in, especially hard because of what he had to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. We'll see that open Saturday. If you're just kind of starting up and see what's going on Saturday noon, big kickoff. Ohio State and Texas, or Texas at Ohio State, 3:30, Florida State, Alabama, and then obviously 7:30, LSU, Clemson, and a lot of really good other ones along the way. And we'll start to break that down more as we get closer. But yeah, there you go, Tyler. That is walking it back, trash talk style. 803-404-6100. How you can join us if you want to weigh in on any of that this afternoon. You can do that via text line. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number one. Tyler's been waiting on this. He's all excited. Now that we're about done with coaches, well, we had a coaching fight, a royal rumble, if you will, Tyler. Does that work?
Sure. A knockdown, drag out brawl. Hey, we got the open space here to do it if we could get them all here back again.
Put a ring in there. We will discuss that as we wrap up hour number one. You're listening to Tyler Head live from Atlanta at SEC Media Days, final day there. Producer Ed Bird and myself right here in Columbia. It is the halftime show. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions, where Tracy Corley and his team understand your lifestyle. They truly do. That's why they work in the pool maintenance business. Having a pool isn't just about you, it's about you, your family, your friends, your entire lifestyle. When you come home in the afternoon after a long day of work, maybe you're ready to just hop in the pool and you want that pool to be nice and maintained. Maybe it's later in the fall, making sure that pool is looking beautiful so you can have an afternoon cookout or lazy days watching college football. Whatever your lifestyle involves, it probably involves your pool backyard. And that's why Tracy Corley Pool Solutions is not just about maintaining your pool, it's about maintaining your lifestyle. So call them today, 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals, and that is actually more affordable than you trying to do it yourself. So again, call today and line up for pool maintenance. 803-445-8109. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 12:49 as we wrap up our number one here on your Thursday edition of the halftime show. Tyler, so far this week, I've done well. I believe we've had no early game slip ups just yet. Kudos to
No,
me.
well, hey, listen, we got time this week, so don't count your chickens yet.
Way too early victory lap. Totally understand. Totally understand. 830-401-6100. I was not looking at our live stream. Was that? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's the sound
There it
you
is.
heard. What was
That
that?
is indeed the crack of a zero sugar Dr. Pepper.
We will get more. Day 4. Had your fill of Dr. Pepper at this
Uh,
point.
Listen, I'm gonna have to drink gallons of water over the course of the weekend to offset all the Dr. Pepper that I've drank this week. They do have water here, but again, when you're allowed free Dr. Pepper to your heart's content, it's hard to say no. So I'm getting my fill. I have a terrible sweet tooth, so I've drank a lot this week, and I'll try and correct myself this weekend with drinking plenty of water.
Detoxing weekend. We'll get more into the Dr. Pepper final thoughts later on in the program. 803-404-6100. So you saw this, you instantly got excited. SEC
I
coaches
did.
ranked who would win a fight. This is from Barrett Ali earlier in the week. And give us a little breakdown of what you noticed here instantly.
So first of all, Barrett Sallee, former CBS Sports, covered college football for a long time, now works here in Atlanta for 680 to the Braves coverage, but a well-respected voice when it comes to college football. And yeah, he just unprompted threw this out there the other day ahead of media days who would win in a fight between SEC coaches. And I don't know, maybe a surprise to a lot of people. Oh, wild-eyed Brent Venables, number one on that list.
Not the guy I would have had. Not the guy. He does look a little wild. He does seem intense, but I would not have him. I was going to go. My list right now has. And you might be surprised by this.
Okay.
I'm going Billy Napier at 1. Billy
Ooh, why
Napier
is
just
it? Why is that?
he looks he the intensity, there's a look of it very rarely do I feel like I see him smile, a look of intensity, and while I could go through top 5 of guys that I think work out on a consistent basis. I feel
Sure.
like Napier embodies the intensity and, anger,
Eh,
and I'll go what looks like a guy who has worked who makes sure he gets a good morning workout in.
I think he falls in line with that, like, cold-blooded type of guy,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I remember, like, Derek Mason when he was at Vanderbilt also kinda had that, like, hey, he hurts pretty bad without breaking a sweat type of look to him, so I don't think Napier's a terrible choice. Uh, I gotta go with the big guy, though. I think Sam Pittman, if you get him riled up, I feel like that's a tough guy to bring down, to be honest with you, and he, pretty low on Barrett's list, number 13 in terms of winning a fight.
I didn't know if I think this was an age discrimination thing to which I'm with Barrett on. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I would have had Pittman down the list. I'm gonna go age there catches up with Sam Pittman. I didn't think about this until I just brought it up. I'm glancing now. I believe it's gonna be Pittman for Brian Kelly. I think for the elder statesman of SEC coaches, not in terms of tenure. Does that seem
Yeah,
right as I glance? I just thought about that just now.
yeah, and off the top of my head, I believe those are the two uh, oldest coaches in the conference. Now, the Saban are those guys are both in their 60s. So, yeah, I guess that could play into it. But despite the fact that he is an older coach, like Sam just has a lot of energy. And again, he's a bigger guy, so if you were, trying to, bring him to the ground, that may not be the easiest thing in the world. Elko's right above him too. Elko also a bigger guy, and I know it's kind of hard to believe he's one of the younger coaches in the SEC. He looks like he's already 60 years old. I think he's getting disrespected a little bit here.
Brian Kelly has a single month, both 63 years of age
Yeah.
with Sam Pittman. All right, so you go down this list a bit. Number 2 is Clark Lee. Uh, yeah,
Um,
again, I've got to go with the guy who looks like he gets a great workout there in the morning, who kind of who looks kind of spry. Wore those T-shirts last year, got yelled at by his fan base. I got to go Kalen DeBoer at 2. Billy Napier at 1, Kalen DeBoer at 2.
okay. Yeah, DeBoer. I don't know. I can't quite figure out DeBoer. That is, he's obviously seems like a very nice guy. But I guess we have his wilder side to be at. I know it seems a bit angry on the sidelines, but he's a pretty big dude seeing him walking around here. So I'm sure he could handle his own. He's getting a lot of disrespect here from Jeff Levy. Jeff Levy just looks like your typical like country boy that is used to throwing bales of hay, right? Like naturally country strong. That holds up well in a fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, Levy's at least some of the pictures I've seen, what we would label a bigger fella.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's thick.
40, 41 years of age. I feel like he's a grappler.
Yeah.
If he
Oh,
gets you to the mat, you're done.
I feel like if you shook his hand, your hand would hurt because he's just got like that monster grip to him. That if he gets his hands on you, you're probably not getting away from him too easily.
Barrett's Lee putting out this ranking. Shane Beamer at 6.
Shane is wired. Shane, again, we've seen him fired up. We've seen him intense. Like he may not be the biggest guy, but I feel like he could hold his own with most of these guys.
Yeah, Brent Venables, Clark Lee, Steve Sarkeesian, Kirby Smart, Billy Nate, top 5. Shane at 6. I agree with you. I feel like Jeff Levy is a bad matchup.
Yeah, again, if Shane can stay away from him, stay out of his grip, stay out of his reach, I think he'll be all right. He's got to have those calculated shots kind of from the distance.
Yeah,
But yeah, if Levy gets your arms around you, it's over.
get in and get out. Get in and get out. Get in and get out. No problem.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. We will continue to come back to that. 803-404-6100. We'll recap yesterday a little bit when we return. You're listening to the halftime show. Hour number 2 on Thursday, leading into a Thursday night, which Tyler, I continue to tell you, Thursday night. I got too much like college football. And this is a sad era of college football because there was a time and place, really, as you were kind of having your upbringing. A little bit prior. Like, I'll never forget one of the Thursday night games I saw. I think I was like in 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade. I come home from a middle school basketball tryout at Lakewood Middle School, and my father got me food and everything. And the reason I remember this, a 96-ish, 97-ish, somewhere in there. My father might actually remember it, but was because that was the night, Thursday night, Virginia beat Florida State in Charlottesville to end Florida State's ACC winning streak that had begun since they entered the league. You would get these great Thursday night games. And so to me, growing up, Thursday is always like, hey, it's the beginning of the weekend. Tomorrow to survive Friday.
Yeah, so listen, I've grown up on plenty of great years, and usually typically was the ACC. You get like a Virginia Tech and Boston College on Thursday night or something like that. And again, that may not be a game to put at the top of your viewing window on a Saturday, but it's one on Thursday night that you certainly tuned into and saw plenty of good games there. That unfortunately, as with many other days of the year, the NFL has just kind of taken over, made their own. And yeah, you get the occasional American Athletic Conference game on Thursday, but it's not quite the standard of what it once was. Back in its heyday.
No, it's not. So Thursday, get yourself through it. Kind of truthfully, Tyler, tonight is kind of the last dead night of the sports year. At least starting tomorrow night on Friday, we get back into Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball will lead into, gosh, I just realized this now, thinking out loud. Are we 3 weeks away from the Hall of Fame game?
So 2 weeks from today exactly, on July the 31st, we'll have the Lions in charge in the Hall of Fame game, and that'll be the first actual football we will get of the football season.
2 weeks. I'm sorry, yeah, math I was trying to do math also when my kids go to school, but you're right. 2 weeks. So this is essentially it. No NBA tonight, obviously, unless you count Summer League, which do you count Summer League?
I don't.
Okay, making sure we're on the same page.
No, that is for the that's the sicko level of basketball watching at that point.
Good point. Yeah, you got no Major League Baseball, no Summer League, or excuse me, no NBA, no NHL, no college football, no NFL. WNBA. Although I actually don't know if there's a WNBA game tonight. I'm not even going to try.
I think are we still, just because last night there was obviously nothing with the ESPYs, but
right.
I don't know if there's anything tonight at all anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, if you haven't, should we say you should see the Shane Gillis stand up essentially from last night at the ESPYs?
If that is in your realm of comedy, yes. If not, you're probably going to be upset by it.
Okay.
So just tread lightly.
Yeah. So the ESPYs last night. Did it gain attention for all the wrong reasons?
Isn't that what it's designed to
Is
do?
it? I don't know.
Like,
I truly have never gotten into the ESPYs.
When you invite a controversial stand-up comedian, you know that there's going to be plenty of negative headlines. People saying, "I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he said this." Like they had to, and he even like started it off like, "Hey, can you believe like Disney signed off on this? They said this was okay." Like even he couldn't believe it to a degree. It seemed like.
Yeah, it was, and like I said, I wasn't watching it. The reason I flipped over and started watching it, again, all the wrong reasons, because I'm scrolling Twitter, I'm like overindulging Tyler on things I might want to talk about today, or things like I'm sending texts. I was a very needy friend or girlfriend last night, just constantly getting texts from me, constantly going like, "Ooh, this is an interesting. Ooh, let's talk." And as I'm scrolling Twitter, I kept seeing
I'd rather have too much to work with than not enough.
Yeah, and I kept seeing it, but as I'm scrolling like Shane Gillis stuff, like, oh my God, he just said this. Oh goodness, he just said this. And I was like, all right, I guess I better flip over and see what's happening here. But
see what all the buzz is about.
That was last night. Yesterday at SEC Media Day, Oklahoma, Florida. You had plenty going on there. Oklahoma's interesting. Was it yesterday, Tyler, or was it Tuesday? I made the proclamation. South Carolina beats. South Carolina might go 1-11 this year. I'm going ahead and calling it South Carolina beats Oklahoma.
I don't know. Again, last year Oklahoma was so bad. It was so un-Oklahoma the way that they were playing football last year. And Carolina came in there and curb stomped and the game was over in 5 minutes. In my heart, I can't let myself believe that they would be that bad 2 years in a row. I'm very John Mateer is probably the most intriguing quarterback or player maybe in all of the SEC for me, because I don't know how his game's going to translate. Again, he played well at Washington State, didn't play against a lot of Power 5 competition. He could either be the reason that Oklahoma ascends back to the heights thing towards the top of the conference, or he could be the reason why they're nowhere near competitive. Like, I don't know which way it's going to go, but there's a lot of hype from the national talking heads about John Mateer and his abilities. I'm very intrigued to see him play.
John Mateer, one of the reasons that that Oklahoma fans have hope. So let's listen to this because this is Brent Venables. I want you to listen to this. Again, it's kind of the theme sometimes we talk excuses or just being realistic. This is Brent Venables talking about wide receiver injuries. By the way, I think it was 4. I know. Was it 5?
Yeah. So when Carolina played them, it was either 4 or 5. All of their main receivers were out going into that game. I mean, they were playing like walk-ons, converted DBs, or something along those lines. They had no depth. They had nobody left at wide receiver by the time Carolina got there.
Yeah, and we say all of that because, like I said, I knew it was 4. I couldn't remember if it was 5 as well. They were lacking. There was issues at quarterback. Here's Brent Venables yesterday talking about these situations and what led to last season.
Yeah, it's. I think it's hard to do. Certainly, it's hard to get a first down or two. But no, it's as we've said, and I would take this moment just to say, what type of a future I believe that Jackson Arnold and Mike Hawkins, both of those guys, put in a really tough spot as first-year players. The supporting cast that they can't play quarterback by themselves, and to put them in a really tough position. And both of them are going to be incredibly successful in the future. And but yeah, that made it really difficult. And no excuses. What you would ideally like to see on any given Saturday, if you're going to be competitive and have a chance to win, as an offense and a defense, and a special teams that complement one another, not compensate for one another. And when you give the ball back more than you take it from the opponent, I know it's hard to win.
There's a big piece to unpack on that. I think some people have said I'm wrong about. And, that is so. Well, Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins both got put in tough situations. Did they have to be in those situations? Because at least, and I've talked to people out there, the general consensus is that Dillon Gabriel got shoved out the door in favor of Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, and something that we went back to quite a bit last year is that program was struggling as, and look, I to a degree get it. We all get caught up in the star ranking guys, 5 stars and, future first round picks and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like everybody fell in love with Jackson Arnold pretty quickly. I think he started the bowl game.
Yeah, they basically kind of shoved Dillon Gabriel out for the bowl. And I'm going to go back. We'll find him this year. I had another Oklahoma guy on that was really good out there. But the general consensus was that Oklahoma basically looked at Jackson Arnold and was like, "You're the future, Dillon Gabriel. You're the past. Dillon, you're free to go wherever you want. Jackson, get ready for the bowl game."
And again, Dillon Gabriel goes out there and helps lead a undefeated Oregon team into the college football playoff, obviously. And again, if he stays, the injuries and all that kind of stuff mount, maybe it ends up being the same result. We'll never know. But again, you put yourself in a really interesting spot to move on from your veteran, experienced quarterback to a guy that was unproven in Jackson Arnold that ended up going sideways. You bench him halfway through the year. Look, let's be honest, because they benched him before the Carolina game came around. We knew he was going to transfer. We knew at that point the relationship was done with. He was going to go somewhere else. And now he's ended up at Auburn. We're again going back to the Hugh Freeze stuff the other day. We're going to find out whether it really was just Oklahoma being a really bad team or if Jackson Arnold isn't as good as we think he is on the future of what that team's going to be. But yeah, Venables got himself into quite of a mess. And again, there's perhaps no hotter seat in the SEC this year than his.
803-404-6100. So again, that's some of the things that he discussed yesterday. I do find this interesting. Listen to this producer Ed. This is 28 because Tyler, I think I want to circle back to some of this next week, but real quick, get some thoughts on it. Hiring Jim Nakey as a general manager. More and more schools are going to have a general manager, and here is Brent Venables, a well-known coach, a highly intelligent coach, but bringing in Jim Nakey as a general manager.
Yeah, love Jim Nagy, love his staff. Always been a longtime fan. Our paths crossed many years ago at a couple of different spots, and he's worked class. He's been really good for a long time at the highest level. He's got a great football mind. He's a tremendous human being. He's been a great partner in our collaboration to make us more efficient and make us right. And so that's been a lot of fun to watch that. We're literally just kind of starting the root system. He hired his last few guys just several weeks ago, went through our very first cycle that was halfway done when he jumped in. And so I think you'll really see the fruits of the labor of, the vision of, what we want to do and what we want to become through that space over the next couple of cycles recruiting. But they love it. What I love about Jim and his staff is they're really passionate about what they do. And they care about people. And they love building things, and they work well together. They've got those types of skills, and so it's been fun so far.
Quick thoughts on adding a Oklahoma.
So, and for those familiar, Jim Nagy is the director of the senior, a recent Senior Bowl every single year that's now moving on and taking the job at Oklahoma. And like you said, there's so many programs around the country that are taking on these roles. And the athletic director is not only kind of acting to that. And we talk about a guy like Nagy, who, again, his entire Senior Bowl was evaluating talent, scouting talent, and what the potential for it at the next level was going to be. I can't think of a better guy to be in that GM position that can serve as that extra set of eyes, that extra opinion of, hey, here's a guy at, I don't know, maybe this G5 school somewhere out there that does this or does that fits exactly what we need at linebacker or DB or even kicker or something along those lines that, again, it could take a little bit of the pressure, not the pressure, a little bit of the workload off of Brent Venables' back when it comes to trying to bring in talent via the portal and obviously managing the roster and those kind of things. So I can't think of a better guy to do that than somebody like Jim.
803-404-6100. That'll be a conversation we'll get to maybe more in the next couple of weeks as we go along, because I am interested in the trend of who's coming along in these situations and now who's starting to run these college football programs. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll look back at Florida yesterday. I got a question for Tyler on this. Very interesting. You can have high levels of success over very short periods of time. What does that create for the future? Thoughts. We'll talk about that. You're listening to Tyler Head live from Atlanta, SEC Media Days. Bill Gunner and producer Ed Bird here in Columbia. Halftime show. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing. Let me tell you something. We never plan on having a leak at the house or at the business, right? We never think about, oh, it's coming up. Probably it's almost April. Maybe I'm going to have a leak. You don't think about it. But Mid-State does, because leaks, they don't understand time. They don't understand when or where. They just happen. And at Mid-State Roofing, that's why they are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You give them a phone call at any point. It's 114 right now. You have a leak, guess what? Mid-State Roofing, you'll speak with a Mid-State Roofing employee. But maybe you get a leak at 11 p.m. or 3 a.m. Then what do? You call Mid-State 803-356-1919. You will speak with an on-call technician. That is exactly why Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for over 30 years, because of their dedication to their customer service. So again, give them a phone call, 803-356-1919, or you can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. If you've got a leak at Mid-State Roofing, take a peek. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in this afternoon. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, and producer Ed Burns. We roll through trying to. How do you feel, Tyler? We're trying to get. You got more energy than I
Yeah.
guess I would suspect. You're doing great.
Yeah, I do feel like I kind of have that second wind of, the excitement of, obviously just being here for another day and obviously getting to wrap it up and head back home. Definitely looking forward to sleeping in my own bed again tonight. I appreciate my parents for allowing me to stay with them. But the bed that my old room is now the room that my Nana lives in about half the year. She alternates between Georgia and Ohio, where my aunt lives. So I'm basically sleeping in her bed now, which is not as comfortable as mine back home.
Well, we'll get you home. And yes, there's a level of excitement. Earlier in the program, we talked about Eric Speed's coaching fight rankings. Texter weighed in. Said Kirby would swing first, miss, and fall to the ground. Kirby Smart. So
Okay, all right. By the way, I'm looking at Sam Pittman right now as he's standing up there at the podium. He is actually a little bit smaller than I thought.
okay.
Again, he was an offensive lineman by trade back in the day, but he's a little slender, so maybe not the impossible task to take down.
Okay. All right. There we go. Little on-site reporting there. Figure out these rankings. The guy that I had number one spoke yesterday, Billy Napier, talking, and did you? Well, you had it right over your shoulder there. He talked at 1 o'clock, fresh off of lunch
Sure.
yesterday, and there was some concern on your part. Matter of fact, I think you had to go to the restroom at one time, and there was just people
Yeah.
had flocked to the restroom not to listen to Billy Napier.
Yeah, he's again very, very monotone. Doesn't really change the inflection of his voice. He can rock you to sleep a little bit, that's for sure. But I do think there's intrigue and interest, just given the fact that he's the coach of Florida. Florida's a brand that's had a lot of success over the past couple decades that is waiting to try and get back to that point. And he also has one of the most exciting quarterbacks in college football, in TJ Lagway, who was here yesterday as well. So there is intrigue about the Florida program, even if Billy Napier is maybe not the most interesting man in the world.
Florida's if you do a deep dive, there's a lot of people that are about my age, 43, maybe a little bit older. And we remember, I look at Florida as this ultimate powerhouse. How are they the way they are today? Why are they the way they are? Because I don't know. And mind you, for those of you listening out there, especially Miami Hurricane fans, I'm not trying to insult you. The 80s were, while I was alive, slightly before in terms of really understanding college football. All right. Or if you asked me back then, I remember Todd Ellis and 8 and 4 and
Sure.
So, but when Florida has been dominant, the way that through Steve Spurrier, through Urban Meyer, they crushed people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just crushed people. But there's also a lot of history to Florida that is very, very, very. And I'm not trying to compare to South Carolina before you go, what are you saying about Florida? Look at South Carolina. I got it. But Florida's been very mediocre at a lot of times as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I don't know if you ever have a favorite restaurant that you go to where sometimes, you get your favorite dish and sometimes it's phenomenal. It's the best thing you've ever had. Tastes amazing. Other times it's just kind of meh. It's good. It's your favorite, but it's not wowing you that day. That's kind of what Florida is. Like, yeah, when they're on their game, when they're at the best, they are truly a snowball that's rolling downhill that you can't stop. And I was obviously not alive for a lot of the run of Spurrier's time there at Florida. But, my formidable years of watching college football as I was getting to around the age of 9 or 10 is when Urban Meyer took over there and obviously turned them into a national championship contender once again. And again, as somebody that grew up a fan of Georgia football, I dreaded that game at the cocktail party every single year for a period of time because Florida just seemed like that impossible team you just could not find a way to beat. And a lot of times they go out there and steamroll you by 30 points. So again, when they hit it, they hit it. But again, in years past, and yeah, I know McElwain and Dan Mullen had each gotten them to some SEC championship games respectively, but nobody ever looked at those teams as legit national championship contenders. I think they benefited from the East being really, really bad, and really for the past 15 years, they've been trying to find their next Urban Meyer / Steve Spurrier, and it just hasn't worked yet. And Napier, yeah, he did enough to stave off being fired last year, but I don't think anybody's looking at him and saying, okay, here they come. They're about to turn the corner and become a national powerhouse again. They seem a long way from that.
Yeah, I mean, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say Florida's struggling, Florida's bad. I'm with you.
No, they're not bad. They're just meh. They're kind of they're okay.
Well, what I guess I'm comparing it to is, like I said, when you look at those most of those urban Meyer teams, and definitely, and mind you, again, biased here, completely biased. Let me be clear, because I'm with you. When Steve Spurrier was there as a person in college for 2 years in college and B in high school, and you'd see Florida on the schedule, and it was like, that's not going to happen. We're not getting that one. And not only are we not getting that one, let's see.
Yeah, love Jim Nagy, love his staff. Always been a long time fan. Our paths crossed many years ago at a couple of different spots, and
there we go.
Well, Venables just want to tell us how excited he was about Jim Nagy again. Live radio, man, live radio.
We got Captain Dave and Producer Ed in there. And by the way, and let's do this for a second. I'm going to interrupt this segment to tell y'all there's a lot of you that don't know. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes this week. And if it wasn't for Tyler and Producer Ed and Captain Dave, we couldn't accomplish it. The three.
And Jen, don't forget about Jen. She'll hurt you.
Oh, well, Jen, I know I've been communicating with you three, so that's a good point. But the effort behind the scenes, y'all hear Tyler and I and Elijah and Jay and Preston and Terry. But thank you to all of our people behind the scenes for the work that they've put in this week because of I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And but I do laugh because whatever just went off. You heard the sounds that I was making trying to get their attention. But nonetheless, let's hear everyone a little bit from Billy Napier real quick so you can hear what he had to say. This is interesting. This is going to be clip number 19. Guys, clip number 19. And this is Billy Napier talking about kind of what Tyler and I are alluding to, the high expectations, despite the tough schedule that they're facing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I would say about expectations is when we talk about expectation, I think the important part is what we expect from each other. And I think we've learned that, right? I think it's not only do you need to block out noise, but it's absolutely necessary that you do it, right? So I think we've got to have high expectations for each other. We see each other every day, right? I think this is player to player, it's coach to player, coach to coach, all parts of our organization. So that's where we spend our focus. I really believe that's where the magic happens, right? Is when you look around that locker room and you trust the people. I think there's connection. There's a chemistry that's needed in this game. I think if you look at who's had success over the last couple of years, it's veteran teams that have really good connection. So when I think about expectations, I think about what we expect from each other. I also think that it's about execution. You talk about our schedule. I firmly believe that that'll be earned in the fall. So we can talk a lot about potential for the next 40 days, but we'll play the games in the fall.
And I'll say this, Tyler. I like the mindset. You're saying, I think this goes a little underrated. Something Shane Beamer says. He says we get to, not we have to. We get to play that schedule that faces. Florida's the same way. Look, Florida's been a big dog. 3 national titles. They have been more SEC championship games. Obviously, through their career. Their expectations are different. I get that, but they can't look down on themselves and go, "Woe is me." Oh, look at who we got to play. Look at all these games we got to play. We got to play Tennessee, and we got to play LSU, and we got to play Texas, and poor us, Florida Gators. South Carolina needs to have that same mindset. People don't to look at the schedule and go, "Oh man, poor us." Look at Alabama here. Look at LSU. Look at Mississippi. You got to have the mindset, and Florida still does that. Hey, we beat those teams. They're not better than us.
Yeah, and again, we didn't think they were going to be able to survive that gauntlet of a schedule they had at the end of the year, and they found a way to do that. He talked about experience, by the way, kind of skimming over their depth chart right now. They've got a lot of veterans, especially on the defense coming back this year. So if there was ever a chance to step up when you have a deep team of a lot of experienced players, we saw last year in Carolina, that can move things in a pretty significant direction, which I'm sure Napier's counting on this year.
803-404-6100. We'll come back, move to the back half of the program here. Tyler in Atlanta, myself, and producer Ed here in Columbia. We'll look back don't know that much about it, but we'll look back at the All-Star game a little bit. And the Braves, oh boy, here come the Yankees. You're listening to the halftime show.
or not unfortunately, but got overshadowed by what was happening with the swing off was the automatic, balls and strikes, because we've had that system back in spring training that they tested out, and they got the opportunity to use it in a more of a formal type of game the other night, and I got to say I was pretty pleased with it. No, and again, as I was pretty confident, it happened pretty fast. So you'd have a situation where, okay, batter's up at the plate, and there's a ball called a strike that he thinks is outside the zone, taps on his helmet, boom, they immediately show it up on the replay, and like the umpire will come up, put his hands up, stand on home plate, say, hey, this is being challenged. You see it up on the screen. Whole process took like less than 30 seconds, which again, in this world of, especially in college baseball, where you have to stop things, they got to go over there, they got to put the headsets on, they got to wait 5 minutes for somebody in Birmingham to tell them something, and then come back out there to tell us that it's upheld. This was nice because it went so fast. You saw it on the big screen, boom, they'd say it's overturned or whatever it may be, and then we got onto the next pitch. It wasn't a drawn out process. And again, I want to say all the challenges were won. So between the NL and the AL, I believe everything that got challenged was challenged correctly, so they were able to keep going. Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's always kind of been my thought with football, that if you can't figure it out within 60 seconds, then it can't be overturned, because clearly you're not seeing enough evidence to give you the contrary there. So, yeah, as long as we're doing this fast, and the human element is something that is always important to baseball. And with automatic balls and strikes, it does not go away. It just presents you the opportunity. If you see something, again, we see plenty of bad calls across any baseball game ever, however long you've watched this sport. So it gives you an opportunity through an additional piece of strategy to use those to your advantage. And again, if you get a ball that's outside the zone that gets called a strike, and you're out in the first inning, probably not going to use that. You're probably going to save that for a later inning, a little bit more of a critical situation. So I think it adds another layer of strategy to the game. And again, my biggest point is I hope it challenges umpires to be better, to be closer to, they're not going to be perfect, they're never going to be perfect, but to be more on their toes, saying, hey, if I get this wrong, I stand to be embarrassed in front of this entire stadium, because this is going to go up on the big screen in front of everyone. Sure. Sure. Okay. Sure. Sure. It's apathy. I think there's no better way to put it right now, because unless they just go crazy at the trade deadline coming up here in a couple of weeks, there's nothing they currently have right now that instills the belief that they're suddenly going to turn it on and go on some kind of crazy run. Again, Ronald Acuna Jr. is playing out of his mind, obviously did well enough to warrant himself getting the All-Star game despite missing the majority of the season so far. But the help around him in the lineup outside of guys like Matt Olson is few and far between. So I just don't think there's anything that's going to suddenly spark some kind of crazy run to even make a wild card spot at this point. So you're kind of in an unfortunate situation where you just have to go through the back half of the season knowing that you're really not playing for anything unless, again, they just get insane and crazy and start making moves at the trade deadline, which they might, but I don't know how big of a thing they're going to take. And if they think it's something that's more of a long-term play than a, hey, we got to win right now, like they did back in 2021. From top to bottom, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I would say like the AL East from like top to bottom is the most competitive because you have so many teams so close together. But yes, in terms of trying to claw your way out of the hole that the Braves are currently in, yeah, that's a tough division to do that against with the way that the Phillies and even the Mets have been playing as of late. Even though the Mets did go on that run where they were kind of netting for a while and fell back down to earth, but again, they're only half a game back from the league lead right as of right now. Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
Concert, which SEC coach, or which SEC coach is more likely to go to a WWE event? Think about that. Weigh in 803-404-6100. It's the halftime show.
if you were to pick a coach that would either go to a Beyonce concert or a WWE event, who would go where? Let's start Beyonce.
I think
why
Shane.
is it Lane Kiffin?
I think Shane Beamer and I could have a good time at a Beyonce concert.
You think? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do. He seems like he's up to date on everything.
Yeah.
And you got to go in there with a good open mindset to see some things that you're not used to seeing and be just ready to vibe.
That is Roman Harper saying, hey, got to go to, and by the way, where this comes from, Beyonce had her concerts over in Atlanta to start the week. But Tyler, Roman Harper says Shane Beamer, the guy to go to a Beyonce concert with.
Honestly, I think Shane would probably be fun to go to either one with, but I could see him. If I was riding in the car with Shane, I could see him having a very, vast playlist, and Beyonce may pop up on there. That wouldn't surprise me. He's got a teenage daughter, so I'm sure he hears plenty of it, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I'm looking at this list. If I'm going to a Beyonce, if I got to go to with one coach to a Beyonce concert, I will admit, out of this list, I feel like it's Shane Beamer. Brent Venables, too serious. Yeah. Kirby Smart, too serious. Billy Napier doesn't seem like a lot of fun. I don't know enough about Jeff Lebby, but he seems like, as you said earlier, a country guy. Kalen DeBoer, don't know enough about with. Lane Kiffin's the one that I'm starting to turn on a little bit because I just think Lane's only good on Twitter.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Lane Kiffin is very image conscious, right? And I feel like, and you'll see this when you go to concerts, especially like Beyonce, there are people that only care about how they look, how their pictures are going to turn out on Instagram, and all those kind of things. And if you're going to a Beyonce concert with Lane Kiffin, he's only concerned with how he looks, make sure he's got the right angle for his picture. He could care less about the music itself. He just wants it to look good on the gram after the fact. He's that kind of guy.
I'm with you. So if it's a Beyonce concert, because Lane Kiffin just seems awkward. Hugh Freeze would actually probably be second on my list of people.
Listen, Hugh Freeze would be very uncomfortable at a Beyonce concert.
Also true.
Yeah, he'd be like, what's this music? Why is she dancing like that? I don't like what's going on here. I feel like nice.
Okay.
I feel like he wouldn't enjoy himself too much.
Okay. Shane Beamer wins that. Who do you go with if you're going to a WWE concert? Who are you going with?
Oh man. This
is an easy one for me.
Jay is showing off his All-Star Game merch. He just purchased at the gift shop, by the way. Good stuff down there.
So it doesn't count if you weren't at the game.
It doesn't count if you're not at the game, according to Bill.
I can order the same stuff on Amazon and pretend that I was there too.
See, I got to go back to Uncle Sam. He's an intense guy. I think you'd have a lot of fun at a wrestling event with him.
I feel like he is. I bet if we see if we can snag Sam. I don't know. Maybe, of course, he's going to the podium. He's going to the podium. What here in about? He's already been.
Yeah, he already spoke. Yeah. I'll try and see if he's walking around. It was funny. A little bit earlier, I literally was in the middle of the segment, but Eli Drinkwitz walked by me. I took off my headset and I said, "Hey man, you're a quote machine," and gave him a fist bump. He seemed to like
he
that.
Loved that.
So I'll see if I can snag Uncle Sam at some point.
Tell his representative all we want to do is see if he loves WWE, because he not only does he seem like a guy, but he's a guy that's going to go crush a couple beers. He's going to give a couple woos.
Well, if I get in the proximity of him, I'll just go one question: Beyonce or WWE, and see what he says.
No, don't ask him that. Ask him who his favorite WWE wrestler or who his wrestler of all time, because I guarantee he's talked about his music. He's got that jukebox, and he's talked about that.
Turn up that dang jukebox. Yeah, that's his thing.
So I will guarantee there is no Beyonce on that jukebox.
Probably not. I would, unless he just likes to dance or something like that. But no, I would think probably not.
I'm with you. WWE for him, Shane Beamer for Beyonce. I will say, behind Shane Beamer on Beyonce is Eli Drinkwitz. I feel like Drinkwitz is going to go there. He's going to notice some stuff in the crowd. He's going to point it out. He's going to have a good time. I will say this for Drinkwitz, at least in social gatherings, from what I've always seen of him when he's around us, he's always smiling.
Yes.
He's always, like you just said, he was very happy. Whereas if you see Napier or you see Brian Kelly wandering through around up there, you probably no smiles on their face.
And let's be honest, Missouri has kind of been treated like the cousin that you roll your eyes at Thanksgiving, kind of the outsider that nobody's really accepted into the family. So he knows he's kind of fighting an uphill battle in terms of making sure people are talking about Missouri and talking about his program. And again, when you can go out there and be the guy that people look to for quotes, then you can certainly accomplish that.
803-404-6100. Give us the two coaches. Who is the coach you'd want to go to a Beyonce? Don't tell me you don't want to go. If you're going to say, I don't want to go to a Beyonce concert, just don't answer. All right, we get it. You don't like Beyonce. The coach that you would go or that you get dragged to, who is the coach you'd go to a Beyonce concert with, and the coach that you would go to a WWE event? 803-404-6100. Do we both agree it's more likely that Terry would go to the WWE event and Jay would go to Beyonce?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You think that's
I
fair?
think that's probably a good call there.
Yeah, I'll go with that. But yeah, weigh in this afternoon as we'll turn the calendar to the back half of the show, the 2:00 hour coming up. What do we got for us here, Tyler?
Yeah, so Yorman Brown, who is the VP of the College Football Hall of Fame, sat down with us yesterday. We'll re-rack that conversation for you coming up next.
Look forward to it. Hour 3 on the way. We'll roll along, get into a little bit of cutting up, and these kickoff games. Some interesting stuff from Gary Stokan. We'll talk about these kickoff games. My opinion's been changed. We'll explain that. Hour 3 on the way. Final hour of the Thursday morning. There was a mistake. Tyler wandered away, and I say morning. Thursday afternoon here. Let's think about the first mistake of the week. But it's been a busy week. Again, thank you to Jen and Captain Dave and producer Ed, Tyler Head, all the work they've done behind the scenes for a lot of this audio we've been able to play all week. Is they have done an absolutely phenomenal job of having that cut and ready to go for us to bring you a lot of stuff from Atlanta, including yesterday, Yorman Brown, director of the College Football Hall of Fame, joining Tyler. And let's re-listen to that and hear what he had to say.
Welcome back in. It is hour number 2 of the Extra Points. Tyler Head along with you here at Digital Drive at SEC Media Days, day number 3. Elijah Campbell jumping on with me here now as well. We are pleased to be joined from the College Football Hall of Fame, which is where we're broadcasting from, Yorman Brown, who is the Vice President of Marketing, Sales, and Communication. Yorman, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. You told me you're at the All-Star game last night, so a little sleepy today?
No, not a little sleepy. It's par for the course, man. You know, late night, early morning. I like to fashion myself as an athlete, get it in, and still be present. So, but you guys had me listening to a little nostalgia with Big Time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's big time. That'll get me going.
We try and do the music right around here.
No, that was done right.
It sets the tone for every segment.
If I had any fatigue, that beat got me going.
There you go.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Energy boost.
Exactly.
Is this your busiest week of the entire year?
It is not. It's on par, though, having 4 days and 16 teams come in. And, the beauty of it is it all culminates with the fabulous event for 4 days. But I will just give a huge shout out to the staff behind the scenes, setting up months of planning and everything like that. So working with the SEC team, it is on par for a busy 4 or 5 days. So, yeah, we really enjoy it, man. We wish we could host this event every year.
I think we wish it'd be here every single year. That's a lot easier for us to commute from Columbia.
Yeah.
Because it's a drive, and flying to Dallas last year had its own share of issues. But you know what?
Then you guys got stranded at the airport coming back.
Oh boy, I still have like mild travel PTSD from having to stay a full night at the Charlotte airport. That's an experience I don't want to do again. But I think one experience I'd love to do again is just walk around in this building. Like this is like, as somebody who is a diehard college football fan, have been my entire life, I've never had more fun at work than being in this place right here and just getting to see all the cool artifacts. Like I'm tickled by sitting here next to the 222-0 decal here across the way. I think I meandered my way up to the third floor on the first day on accident, trying to find where we're at right now, just getting lost. And I saw the row of jerseys from the Hall of Fame class from this year, and I might have spent like 35 minutes up there and just got lost in my own brain going through it. Like this is such a cool place for anybody that loves the history of college football.
Our average dwell time for folks coming in the building is about an hour and a half. But when you take the kind of hardened, hardcore fan, they can spend hours in this place and, have a reason to come back. And one of the things that we did as late as August of last year, we became the first museum/attraction to integrate AI into the experience. So when it's not decked out in the full SEC glory, what people will do, they will come in, give us a few data points, take a picture, and it integrates them so it can show your likeness posing with the Heisman Trophy, your likeness posing with the Carolina colors, etc., that team that you choose. And people really enjoy that. And, we kind of fashion ourselves as a place, that kind of operates as a sports entity. But sports just does so much by way of bringing families together and bringing cultures together and alignment. And, man, people just have a blast. And one of the biggest things that we use as a tagline here is the teams you love and the teams you love to hate, right?
Yes.
We love talking smack in the office. Our CEO, is a huge Florida fan. I know that'll go against some of the folks on you guys' channel. But we have a lot of staff members who went to Florida State, and, it gets the people going. So, SEC just being geographically located in Atlanta, we have a fun time talking smack all day.
Again, talking to Yorman Brown from the College Football Hall of Fame, who is the Vice President of Marketing, Sales, and Communication. Yeah, I can't think of a more perfect and centralized location to have something like this. Again, it's the heart of SEC country, but everything, and you talk about fan bases, when you talk things to the city of Atlanta, you got Florida, you got Georgia, you got Alabama, you got Tennessee, you got Florida State, you got pretty much every major fan base somewhere within the realm of a stone's throw of the city of Atlanta. And again, people come in from all over to come to a place like this. So this truly, I can't think to be a better location for the College Football Hall of Fame. Not to mention the history in Atlanta itself that, again, looking at the 222-0 of Tech beating Cumberland all those years ago.
I look at it from a perspective of Atlanta is such a melting pot, from folks moving north, south, east, and west. But then also, if you look at the last 7 days in Atlanta, multiple concerts over at the stadium with Beyonce, All-Star game, festivities, SEC championship, different things. The folks who come here from all around, but then the kind of busiest airport in the world, people can get in and out of here. They say about 90% of the country can access Atlanta in 2.5 hours. Like, that's the stat.
Wow.
And it just resonates with us being here in Atlanta. So it bodes well for us.
What's the coolest thing you think you guys have in this museum in your personal perspective? The coolest thing that exists in this museum as a college football fan where you see it, you're like, oh, this is awesome?
So I've been asked that question in a variety of ways before, and I will say this. We have over 1 million pieces of artifacts. Like, what you see on display is about 30% of it, right? We have a place, over in, where our administrative offices are that house everything from pennants to, game, the first dirt from a college football, game, et cetera. But I would say the biggest thing in this museum, honestly, are the people. It's people who have an affinity for sports. Our historian is a PhD historian. People really love the sport. You guys do what you do because you love the sport, right? And these folks, they work tirelessly. They come to work every day, and they want to put on the best attraction for anybody visiting. So I'd say our strongest asset, are the people here.
Well, and for somebody like myself, I'm from right down the road in Covington, and I came here for the first time back in 2016 just as a fan, getting to tour around, look at artifacts. I have a picture of myself with the Heisman Trophy from all those years ago, and that was long before I ever got into radio. So for me, this is like a full circle moment. Coming here as a fan all those years ago, now getting to come here and work and interact with all the big names in this great sport that we all love so much. So it's kind of, for a lot of people, potentially also a gateway of getting into the sport, because if you knew nothing about it or the history of it, you come in here and walk away pretty much knowing just about everything, I feel like.
Just behind these doors where folks can't see it, but you talk about this 220-0 sticker. Behind there, we have an exhibit that we're running, the kind of intersect between baseball and, football, with the All-Star game being in town. You talk about posing with the Heisman. We change this room over about 3 or 4 times a year to keep it fresh, to get people coming back. This year will mark the 90th anniversary of the Heisman Trophy. So we're going to, and hey, this is breaking for you guys, after this baseball exhibit, we're going to have crap ton of Heisman trophies in here.
Oh, nice.
And we're really going to have that on display. Where can people go and see the actual Heisman trophies from winners that have come before them? So we really try to keep it innovative. We have over about 50 interactive, pieces. But, just the fan in me, I love seeing the actual memorabilia, and the actual trophies, the actual game, worn jerseys. I look at Travis Hunter's jersey, last Heisman Trophy winner. So we try to, stay inspiring for the next generation. But, us older guys like myself, we like to see, the folks who played when we were around as well. So
that's why I was so tickled when I saw those jerseys up there. I saw Larry Fitzgerald's. I think I stared at it for like 30 minutes. I mean, I was enamored. I was like, that is the coolest thing I've seen here. But in terms of South Carolina stuff, obviously you guys have so many schools represented in this building. And when you walk in, for those who've never been here, there's a helmet wall. And it's, I think, every single school, Division I, Division III, that does a football program, right?
Division 1 through 3, NIA. If you have a football program, you are represented. One of the coolest things that I would say, well, I'll give you 2 of the coolest things I think about working here. You see someone who goes to a school who they don't think their school is represented. They come in, and when they, sign in with their information, that helmet illuminates on the helmet wall.
Oh,
And for them
wow.
to be able to
That's
find
awesome.
it, that is just, it just piques that curiosity, and that follows them throughout the museum. But then also, as we look over where our playing field is, you see parents with their kids trying to kick a field goal, and they realize how hard that field goal is. And inevitably, you'll see that mom or dad, like, please don't blow out a hamstring trying to show out for your kids. So we get down and dirty with the fun here as well. So it's good.
Do you know which of those helmets was maybe the hardest to track down out of all the ones on the wall? Because you got a pretty far reach for some of those.
You know, it's one thing being the official, the one and only Hall of Fame. Our guys, our historians, they have a good relationship and they stay busy around the clock. So they did a lot of planning. A lot of it comes from, you know, our relationship from where we moved, you know, originating in New York and, you know, being here. But yeah, we tracked down a lot. You know, the only thing I would say is the hard part about the helmet wall is nowadays with the, you know, changing jerseys, changing uniforms, you know, you have home, away, road, this helmet. People like, wait, is that our helmet? You know, and so you have to just make sure which version or iteration of the helmet that you have, because, you know, some kids, they don't know about the ones of yesteryear and the nostalgic helmet and things like that. So that's the interesting take on it as well.
I haven't even looked. What Oregon helmet do you have out there? Because they have one seemingly every quarter, it seems like.
Every helmet for there is just a throwback because it's out of style after a year.
It's out of style after a quarter. Like they might, I think Oregon might be one of the first teams that's going to change uniforms at halftime. I predict that.
I wouldn't put it past them. That's
I think
for sure.
we have one from about like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. Is it?
It's outdated now.
Yeah, probably is. You know, they like to do the silver duck wings.
The duck wings
on the side. That's pretty popular. They'll just change the color of it and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a helmet nerd. I'm like a uniform nerd anyway. So that like checks my box when I come in every morning of just looking at literally half of those I've never seen before from the Division III or NAI levels or whatever. But I love football helmets. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's. I'm not gonna lie. I made it my mission when I got here. I was like, I want to find my alma maters on here somewhere. I want to find it. And that one actually took about 7 or 8 minutes. It took some looking, but I eventually was able to find it, and I had a little bit of pride in doing so. But for South Carolina fans listening to this right now too, they're gonna be playing here in August for the weekend kickoff on Sunday against Virginia Tech. They want to stop by the College Football Hall of Fame, and they want to find some really cool South Carolina type stuff. What do you think is like one of the coolest South Carolina pieces of memorabilia that you've seen?
One of the things that we do, and I take a lot of pride in, when you walk in where that helmet wall that you're referencing is, we have what's called Game of the Week during the season. So we'll take some of the Virginia Tech, the South Carolina, and we will curate an exhibit just for those huge games.
That's awesome.
So as soon as you walk in, you're lit up with those special artifacts and things of that nature. Because like I say, we have an artifact, room where millions of pieces of over 1 million pieces of artifacts are. So we'll take that and we'll highlight that for them in addition to what you'll find throughout the museum. So those fan bases will find anything that they're looking for.
And last 2 minutes here for those that are coming in town for that game. What are y'all's hours and days going to be leading up to that game that weekend?
So leading up to that day, we'll be open daily from 10 to 5. And, it will really be, something where what people need to know that usually don't know, you can come park at our building, and literally between our building and the stadium, we're about 300 yards away.
It's literally right there.
You literally can walk from your experience at the Hall of Fame over to the stadium. So It's strategically placed. So we are between the Georgia Aquarium and the stadium. So people come down.
A lot of good stuff right there from Tyler and Yorman Brown on the Extra Point yesterday. We'll come back. How about some neutral site games? Where do we stand on these days? Gamecocks open with one to start the season. Tyler and I will talk about it. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2:20. About to be 2:21 if you're keeping me straight here on a Thursday afternoon. Tyler, you wandered away. I declared it was Thursday morning.
Oh,
That was
well,
one.
it happens.
That was a mistake. But we will overcome and we will roll along here as it's been a long week. I know what it's like to be over there late on Thursday. Is the crowd? How is the crowd now as we head toward the Mike Elko sermon?
Yeah, there's not a lot. You look at these like tables they have down here for the media that go and sit in the main room and listen to the coaches. And throughout most of the days this week, I mean, all these tables are covered with laptops and chargers and food and cups and all these kind of things, papers and notebooks. And now, I mean, it's about half full, and some of these tables look pretty pristine and pretty clean. I mean, even now, the funny thing is, so I'm like right over where I may be able to actually turn my camera where you can see it.
Okay.
But I'm right over where you can see the SEC Network crew that is doing all of their live stuff, and they have been doing it all week. And it's really funny, I guess, as the week goes along, they just kind of end up mixing and matching. As you can see their stage over there.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at Dari Noka, Randall Cobb, and Cole Kublik on the panel right now, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of a random assortment of people that I guess as the week goes along, you just have to continue to mix it up, right?
Yeah, that is well, as you just said, yep, I'm looking at it, and so whatever I'm looking at, it's always fun to be there. And if you've got your computer up, I've done this at times, pull up, something on your computer, YouTube TV or something, and see if it's happening in real time or if they're off on another tangent during the break. But Mike Elko set to wrap everything up, and it does look like a bunch of very tired individuals trying to survive kind of the last stand down there as I look at the television.
I did feel kind of bad, skimming through Pittman's press conference a little bit earlier when, he'd be waiting on the next question. He's kind of looking side to side, like anybody going to ask me a question? And again, they let everybody go about 30 minutes. But yeah, I think it's a lot easier to ask a question today than it was perhaps on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, that's the way it will kind of work out. One of the interviews we've had this week was with Peach Bowl CEO Gary Stokan. South Carolina, this has been a dream of mine for a long time, and I don't know if that dream has been crushed through time, but for South Carolina to play in one of these kickoff games at a neutral site event, here's Gary Stokan talking about why South Carolina was chosen this year to take on Virginia Tech.
Relationship with Ray Tanner, number one. Number two, as Shane came on, that became another ingredient because of our relationship with Shane and the Beamer family. Number three is South Carolina fans are tremendous fans. And a lot of them live in Metro Atlanta. And it's an easy drive here. So the accessibility to get here. Number four, it's worked out to where South Carolina, which we didn't know when we did this, they're top 15 team in the country, and going to be playing potentially for a slot in the playoff, which, South Carolina wants to be in Atlanta 3 times this year. In the Aflac kickoff game against Virginia Tech, in the SEC championship game, and then in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, because we host the semifinal this year of the CFP. So hopefully from my lips to God's ears, right, for all the South Carolina fans.
Tyler, I'll let you speak first on what you just heard there.
Again, I see the obvious appeal. And again, you're talking about a strong fan base, a very passionate fan base, one that's in close proximity to Atlanta that can get here really easily and obviously help fill out Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And again, I know these games were obviously scheduled years and years ago, so it's not based off of what they did last season, but you have a team that's obviously a budding one in college football that people, know was on the cusp of the college ball playoff last year, have one of the most exciting players on the offensive side, one of the most exciting players on the defensive side. There's a lot of value that South Carolina does bring to this game, and hopefully can pay dividends for them.
I have talked to Gary Stokan like once, maybe twice in my life when I've been over there. I don't like anything he just said there. Like, the fan base has been a great fan base for years, and this has been taking place. Now, South Carolina's football program has not always been upper echelon and top notch, but as you just mentioned, these games get scheduled years out in advance. At one point last year, for those that don't remember, because we're all celebrating 9 wins, South Carolina was 3-3. Things could have gone the other way. They could have lost the Missouri game. They could have lost the Clemson game. They could have very well finished 7-5 and even lost a bowl game and been 7-6. And are we taking credit? Is Gary Stokan and his team taking credit for that? He talks about Ray Tanner. Well, guess what? Ray Tanner's been around the university as an AD for quite some time, and you could have easily, had South Carolina over at a different point. I think there's I don't want to say mistrust, Tyler, but I do feel like there is a level here of like, hey, we've been sitting around for a long time. It took South Carolina a long time just to get back into the Peach Bowl.
Sure.
Just think about that. We've been to one Peach Bowl and I don't know what since the 70s and over 55 years. And I might be wrong. I might be just completely wrong on that. But for whatever reason, South Carolina has not felt like a partnership with the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the bowl itself. There were times that South Carolina could have gone under Lou Holtz. Maybe we were more enamored with Tampa. I'm not sure. But there have been opportunities for South Carolina to go, and it just seems to never falls our way. And on top of all of that, you've been doing these kickoff games, and South Carolina's never been a viable option, it seems like, to go. And the 1 year you do select South Carolina, and obviously this is an entertaining, this is a matchup that has a little more appeal because it is Shane Beamer's alma mater. It's where Shane Beamer's father coached for. I do get it. And that's probably the reason. It's probably Shane Beamer. It's nothing else. It's not the fan base that travels so well. I've seen this fan base travel to Birmingham, Alabama for an extremely cold football game.
Sure.
So the fan base has always traveled.
Yeah.
But that kind of it's a little bit of an annoyance there because South Carolina has always been an option for some kind of bowl game and again, everybody's like, well, you got to be good to play. Well, true, but we've also seen opportunities where other teams that weren't as good. Alabama and Duke played there. Correct me if I'm wrong. What, 3 years ago or 4 years ago?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was a handful of years ago. I forget the exact season, but you are correct. Alabama's played in this game against Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech Georgia Tech and Tennessee, I believe, have played this game before. Actually, I have the entire list right here. Yeah, we have Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn. Frequent flyers include Alabama, Georgia, Auburn. Tennessee's played it a couple times. Yeah, it seems like there has been kind of a smaller rotation of teams that do play in this game from the SEC.
And for those listening, I'm not trying to say South Carolina deserves to be in this game, but it's not like South Carolina was this budding, up and coming program when they got selected. If you wanted to have Tennessee and Clemson play in that game over the last couple of years with Josh, I get it. I really do get it.
Yeah.
Florida's never played in it, but I don't know. And as far as neutral site games, man, I remember there was so much excitement, Tyler. Somebody can correct me on this. They used to play this game in they used to play a game like this in East Rutherford, New Jersey, up at whatever that stadium used to be called before now, MetLife Stadium.
With the Meadowlands?
Meadowlands, I think. Yeah. And so back in the day, there was a rumor going around that South Carolina was going to play Nebraska. I want to say early 2000. Lou Holtz to play Nebraska to kick off season out. But man, people around here were fired up, and it never came to fruition.
I see.
So I don't mind them. I will admit, if you made me choose, next year's Miami. Is it next year? I think it's next year. Miami. Yeah, because South Carolina goes. My daughter turns 18 the same weekend that South Carolina goes to Miami to play that game. Don't worry, Dad's already plotted out that entire trip 2 years. Actually, it was about 4 years in advance, but the daughter turns 18. But give me the home and homes, man. Give me the home and homes.
Listen, I'm always going to be pro home environment over neutral site any day of the week. I understand the benefits of these games, but I would much rather this game be at Williams-Brice Stadium or up in Blacksburg for sure.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. Big Ten, basically Fox Network trying to bring a little bit of life to their program. We'll also wrap this in with Lee Corso from last night, kind of his farewell there at the ESPYs. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2:35 on your Thursday afternoon. Tyler Head just trying to survive. Just 25 more minutes, big guy.
The clock is ticking. They have the doors open. I can see the bright sunshine outside. So looking forward to that. I will say they've gotten better. Like I swear on Monday, it was like the Arctic Circle in here. They had it so cold that like I'm sitting here towards the end of the day, like, oh my God, I am freezing, waiting to get done with the show so I can go outside and warm back up. But the past day or so has been better.
Yeah, I will admit, having been there, the worst, the two were, Birmingham wasn't as bad. Remember, it's an hour behind. Nashville a couple years ago, because it was 5 a.m. when I would get down there. Oh my goodness! Like people that would be arriving at 8 or 9, I'd be down there in like a sweater and like a winter hat and full. It was not. I was not treating it as July, and people would be looking at me like I was absolutely crazy, more so than they already do. So yeah, good to hear they've gotten that fixed for you. 803-404-6100. So yes or no? I tell you what, let's just do this. I don't. All right. I tell you what, send in, and if you just say no if you don't like one, send in your favorite Saturday morning football show. Is it? And I'm talking about on television. Game Day, SEC. What is it? What is the? I'll be honest. I don't watch
SEC Nation.
SEC Nation. Is that what it's actually called? I thought they had a special name for it. I'll be honest. I very rarely have ever watched. I'm a creature of habit. They've joked with me about the one problem I have moving to this 12 to 3 show, and it's been true. I don't know how to eat lunch anymore. I don't know how to drink coffee. I've been very confused for 9 straight days on my pre-schedule before I get here. So I say that because I've grew up for the last 30 years, however long it's been, watching College Game Day. That's what I watch. I've not gotten into the big noon kickoff, Tyler. It's game day at 9 a.m. Whatever I'm doing, the TV is on game day. I don't sit there and watch all of it, but it's on whatever TVs I've got in the house. So I watch College Game Day. Do you have one preferred?
I'm the same way. College Game Day, and again, you may not necessarily be sitting intently in front, watching and listening to every word, but it's on the background while you're making coffee or breakfast or doing whatever around the house, waiting for the noon games to kick off. The only time I ever see big noon kickoff is if I'm flipping over for the Fox game and there's a 12:10 kickoff and they're just wrapping up their show leading into it. But and look, nothing against the personalities on there. I think they're fine, but I've just, again, like, I guess I'm a creature of habit too, because I've always known College Game Day and listening to Reese and Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard and all those guys over there. It's just what I'm used to and what I'm comfortable with and what I'll continue to do, even with Lee Corso no longer there after the first week this year.
Yeah, and to my point, I never watched Game Day, especially the last probably 15, 16 years. I didn't watch for Lee Corso. Now I did flip over when it was time for the mascot. His mascot heads were great, and I hate, of all the things, the decline in his health and seeing him when he would want to get up and dance like the Leprechaun or like Sparty or whatever he would do. The last night they put the Southern Cal stuff on his head and gave him the little sword, and he looked like he couldn't get his fingers up to do the V anymore. Kirk Herbstreit tried to help him, but I ask all that because he's a character. He was always a character to me, a fun character, a pawpaw kind of character. Like, you can't find those anymore. Did ESPN go out with Pat McAfee and try and do that?
And it's not in the realm of trying to replace what Lee Corso is, because nobody can replace what Lee Corso. He's one of one, but to add another entertainment factor to the show, somebody that, listen, I don't tune in to hear Pat McAfee give breakdowns of defenses or analyze offensive schemes or anything like that. When he's on the screen, I expect him to say something funny, maybe something controversial, and just to bring an excitement and energy level to the show that Lee Corso did for so many years. Now, Lee Corso did, for a period of time, did provide that insight of being a former coach and give you breakdowns and those kind of things, but he leaned into more of the entertainment side of the show that, again, in the past couple of years with his health declining, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to do. And not the show is getting stale without it. I just think that ESPN now found their new entertainment piece in a different kind of way with Pat McAfee.
And now I will say, not a character, but with Nick Saban as well. I think adding Nick Saban was big to that. Well, now it appears that big noon kickoff, the Fox show, is going to add David Portnoy. Dave Portnoy. Now, I'm going to assume many of you are aware of who Dave Portnoy is. Let me be perfectly clear. Portnoy is controversial. There is some things in his past that may cause you to be like, I'm not dealing with that guy. He has had some political takes that I don't know if they align with everybody that's listening to this program. But let me say this. I am a fan of Dave Portnoy. He has come out with a seltzer kind of beverage that benefits dogs. I believe he was on last night with Jimmy Fallon and his kind of pit bulldog, Miss Peaches. And he does the pizza review, which I love watching. I have become a fan of Dave Portnoy. Again, all political takes aside on this. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm a fan of his. I would be interested to tune in to Big Noon Kickoff to hear Dave Portnoy. He is outspoken. I like the fact, look, take him, follow him or whatever. I like the fact that he gives picks on wagers or, his bets. Tyler, I like this, and I like the idea. I think this is Fox understanding maybe where you got to go to keep people involved in your show.
Well, and I think something interesting, obviously ESPN's brought in the Pat McAfee show because they realized a large portion of their audience that was not – large portion of people that would have maybe been watching their noon to 3 content were instead watching the Pat McAfee show. And I think maybe they look at the same way because Barstool does their own pregame game day type of show on Saturday mornings. They live stream as well that Dave Portnoy is a part of. And I imagine, because again, Big Noon Saturdays ratings probably pale in comparison to game days by quite a bit. They're saying, well, hey, if we can go ahead and bring over this audience that's watching this Barstool thing that is in the probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands to a degree, that can, build our audience up and obviously bring in a name that people know that, again, is not the same as McAfee in terms of the overall entertainment value, but somebody that is not going to be not going to give the same thing at the desk as, again, Brady Quinn or, Mark Ingram or Urban Meyer or anything like that. Somebody with a different perspective on the sports world that Dave Portnoy provides.
Is this almost leaning toward, without having a better way to describe Portnoy or even McAfee, is this almost a certain way of being able to reach the media, the podcast, if you will? I think they're called podcast influencers. Is this in your opinion, that what we're doing here?
I think absolutely, because the core audience for Barstool Sports, as well as the Pat McAfee show, is that younger demographic, that 18 to 34 that every TV executive froths at the mouth to try and get, that those guys have found a way to tap into and provide the content that group of people obviously like. So it seems like that's kind of the way they're going and trying to wrangle them in and bring them into their viewership when it comes to game day and now Big Noon Kickoff.
803-404-6100. Dave Portnoy, just yes or no? Just yes or no on Big Noon Kickoff or any kind of kickoff show. 803-404-6100. Again, Dave Portnoy, yes or no? And also you can weigh in. Johnny weighs in. He watches College Game Day. So right there. 803-404-6100. Again, text in that yes or no on Dave Portnoy. We'll come back. Tyler, we'll recap it. How do you feel? Has Tyler made it? Has there been enough Dr. Pepper consumed? They only gave him one flavor. We're all disappointed as well. We'll wrap everything up with Tyler Head, who's live from Atlanta for SEC Media Day, and get him back here to Columbia in studio tomorrow. You're listening to The Halftime Show. Week is not over. Still a day to go, but at least Tyler Head's time in Atlanta coming to a close. And well, what do you think? Your first ever? Let's start with this.
Yeah.
Let's start with big picture. Your first ever SEC Media Days experience.
It's been a lot of fun. Again, this is kind of the who's who of our industry, and I've lost count of the number of people that have walked by. I'm like, oh, listen to their podcast, watch them on TV, or listen to their analysis in some form or fashion. And again, you almost you don't get starstruck, but you feel like you can't just go up and say, hey, these people, but you can. You can introduce yourself, tell them what you do, and have some good conversations. Met a lot of people that I've been listening to and watching for years and years, and that's pretty neat. Obviously, you get the opportunity to hear from the coaches, see the players around. Again, some of these guys are behemoth monsters. Saw Caden Proctor in person, yesterday. DJ Lagway, very impressive. The size that he is walking around as well. And I don't know, it's just really neat seeing it all in person and get you that much more excited for the season to kick off here in about a month and a half.
I didn't even think to look at this because they want to rotate. Are we back in Birmingham next year? Do you know? Normally he announces some future locations, and I didn't think to.
So Jay and Elijah tried to get that out of him yesterday, and he said there is no announcement yet, but that is his decision. I said a rotation of Atlanta, Nashville, and Dallas would probably be perfect. 3 big cities, obviously good central locations that are reachable for just about everybody in the SEC. But he doesn't take my advice, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, Nashville's fun. Nashville's fun. Might be a little bit too much fun to me with what would be an 11-2 show up there.
Sure.
I got a feeling my credentials would be revoked, and probably by the station here and not by the actual SEC. But all right, most impressive thing you saw? You mentioned DJ Lagway. You mentioned Caden Proctor. I don't know if there was a coach you saw who handled the week the best.
Honestly, and again, finally getting to listen to everything that Eli Drinkwitz said. I think he stole the show.
Did he?
We'll obviously get into some of what he had to say coming up tomorrow. But man, we've been talking about the lack of personality and stuff that coaches seem to have these days. But Eli Drinkwitz, and again, I told him when you walked by, dude's a quote machine. You want to get a good quote, you're going to get it out of him. And now again, he can be a little bit annoying at times, especially when he's beating South Carolina at the clip that he was prior to last year. But man, he's going to keep you entertained. That's for sure.
If you look over your left shoulder now, Mike Elko has hit the podium. As I look up, this just goes to show you, either Mike Elko's lost weight, or I'm not sure. He does look like he has aged exponentially. What does the room look like down there below you?
Let's see if I can get you a good angle of this now that I've untethered myself, but it's pretty light.
Pretty scarce.
I mean, you've got a couple people at each of the tables, but it's certainly not packed to the gills like it was earlier on in the week. And yeah, Mike Elko, I don't know. I guess TV makes everybody seem bigger, but Mike Elko, like Sam Pittman, a little bit smaller in person than I would have expected.
So all of that from there. So I'll kind of steal from the morning show a little bit. I know they did this morning. Sure. You going with who do you think improved, or let's say, Napier was a little bit on the hot seat, Pittman a little bit. I know you didn't hear Pittman today. You're not hearing Elko. Who made the biggest impression this week besides Eli Drinkwitz and him actually kind of being just funny?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, it's probably low-hanging fruit here, but I got to go with Texas. Again, you could just kind of feel the energy when they were in here, and obviously a lot of that revolved around Arch Manning and the media circus that was when he was in here the other day. But that's obviously a good team, and they bring back a lot of talent. They're very loaded in a lot of positions. And look, I will go ahead and spoil a little bit of my SEC rankings, which we'll get into tomorrow, I'm sure. But I got them at the top. I got them winning the conference this year. And, Arch Manning doesn't necessarily have to live up to all the hype of being the Heisman Trophy winner and #1 overall pick. But I still think he's going to be a pretty good to really good quarterback in the league. And even just being decent, you can probably still go a long way with all the talent that he's going to have around him.
You may have, right as you brought that up, I have another question for you. Who sold their program the best this week? You might have, because now as we go to do this, I've got my basically top 8 written out here very quickly, and we can save it for tomorrow in terms of media order. But who sold their program the best this week from what you think?
Oh, man, that is it's another tough question here. Oh, man. I don't know. Maybe Kalen DeBoer.
Really? Okay.
And again, Alabama, it kind of speaks for itself. But he was very upfront about understanding that he knew what he had done was not acceptable last year, and that they're obviously trying to get back to that championship standard. So maybe that's not the best answer there, but I can't think of anybody that really jumped out there and outside of, again, Drinkwitz a little bit earlier on this morning that grabbed your attention about, hey, pay attention to us when you otherwise wouldn't have done that.
Okay. All right. Have you submitted? Do you want to hold your at least top 5? Have you submitted your SEC Media Day picks to yet?
I have. I incorrectly thought the deadline was last night, so I rushed to do it yesterday. The deadline's today at 6:00. But yes, I did submit mine. I will
just give me your
reveal my
top 5. We'll take. Are you willing to share it?
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
You know what? We're out of time. That's a tease.
Yeah, we're out of time.
We're out of time. Well, I'll give you time to. I've got mine, and I'm going to look over it tonight. But Tyler, congrats. And the Dr. Pepper count,
yes,
over under 15.
A lot. I'm going to need to drink a lot of water the next couple of days.
You did a great job, buddy. Y'all were phenomenal over there, man. And
see y'all tomorrow.
Look forward to having you back in studio. Tyler had doing a lot of great work over there this week. Captain Dave, excellent work finishing us out. Thanks to producer Ed Bird. We'll be back tomorrow.